Welcome to Deep Conversations Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Ryan Stewart, and today I'm blessed to be here with the founder and owner of a photography company, Mr. Sherrod Bates.
All right, thank you, man. Salute to you. Thank you for having me. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah. But before we get started, talking about your the skills that you have, everything that's been going on with you with your company. Just talk to me a little bit about your childhood and some of your favorite memories growing up.
Well, I was born in Harlem. Through the blessings of my dad, he had pretty favorable employment, so
Mm-hmm.
he was able to relocate me and my brother to Newark, New Jersey. Um, Not much difference in worlds as far as the culture goes.
Right.
Maybe a few slang words here and there, but to the cloth, pretty much the same. But it was a little bit more separation. I got to see a little bit more greenery, a little bit more nature.
Yeah.
Um, See some affluent living, with
Mm-hmm.
outside of Newark, outside of the surrounding counties and things and such. That had a positive influence on me. It allowed me to dream and allowed me to hope, allowed me to have some type of destination to my vision as far as my life goes. Um, like I said, we moved out to Newark, New Jersey when I was about 8 years old. Um, which caught me in between. Are you from New York? Or are you from New Jersey? My New
Mm-hmm.
Jersey people say I'm from New York. My New York people say I'm from New Jersey. But that's one of the that having that trek back and forth from Newark to the Bronx, to the South Bronx, where most of my family is from. I mean, as you may know, with other tri-state, people that's familiar with the tri-state, that's less than
Mm-hmm.
20, 25-minute commute by car.
Mm-hmm.
So those are one of the things I've always looked forward to. I didn't have any family in New Jersey, so I was always excited to come back to the city, and tear it up with my cousins and such.
Yeah, I found it interesting what you said about you know, having being able to dream, a little bit, because I can kind of say the same thing. Listening to you, it's kind of like the same thing, but from Delaware. So growing up with my parents and my brothers, we we grew up in the hood, and that's a different kind of mentality that you have. So when we did eventually move to the suburbs, which was, like you said, a lot more greenery and stuff like that, it allowed it was a shift in your mental thought process. You know what I mean? Of I can do a little bit more things that I thought or I didn't realize that I could do when we were living over here. You know what I mean? And that did play a little, a blessing. You know what I mean? It allowed you to see some other things and see some different. You have to move around to be able to, believe some things can happen.
So I want to take that, a brief moment to give a big salutation to my dad. You
Hmm.
know, he was a single father. Um, I don't want to age myself, but I
Yeah.
grew, I grew up in the early early late '80s.
Hmm.
And during that time there was an epidemic that struck, all our
Hmm.
culture, in that being crack cocaine,
Hmm.
and my mother fell victim to
Hmm.
them addictions, and again, big salutations to my dad,
Hmm.
who he pretty much, kept it sturdy,
Yeah.
and raised two boys on his own,
Hmm.
you know. Um, and he was big on allowing us to see different things, forcing us into situations and scenarios and different environments that would have a positive influence on us.
And I think that's important too, man. For you know the father figure, even if for any other people watching that, even if it's not your biological father, a father figure that can show you different things, and you need that sternness in your life. You know what I mean? It's I'm a I'm a shout out my father too, because having four boys and everybody stair steps. You know what I mean? Him and my mother, and that's me having kids now, I know that had to be hard. You know, we all grew up in the '80s. You know, we grew up in the '80s, so it's like not understanding until you get older the kind of guidance that you needed. You know what I mean? And like you said, to force you into things and you know, kind of get rid of that fear in certain situations to show you some things. So yeah, man, shout out to our parents, man.
Yeah. Shout out to our parents.
Yeah. So your brand called SoNardFlix?
Correct.
SoNardFlix, that's your photography company. What's your goal or what has been your goal for your business? Because I know you know, reading your bio, I know that you basically taught yourself.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Well, quickly, I could do my elevator pitch. I've been, I guess, saying this for, a few years now. After high school graduation in Newark, I joined the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just out of the bare need to do something, to be active, and I pretty much squandered my opportunities as far as the next level of education, as far as college goes. I was a ball player, but, I did not I guess give enough care to the other areas that supported, being a student athlete, so and my dad, a no nonsense kind of guy, and paying keen observation to my strengths and my weaknesses.
Yeah.
He wasn't he wasn't willing to sacrifice my uncertainties and lack to prepare for the next level. So my next decision was on me, and I decided to join the Army. Shortly after, one of my childhood friends, who was one of my very first friends in the Bronx, he joined the military shortly after I did. I mean, my first duty station was South Korea, and I was about 18 years old. I mean, and I was pretty upset at that at the time. I was a little frightened.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what to expect. But again, I was somewhat prepared by my dad by putting me in, like we spoke earlier, about putting me in some new situations and becoming familiar and being able to adjust, efficiently and accordingly. During that time I was in Korea, my friend Solomon Robinson, he came home to the Bronx and he was on leave and he was murdered. And that took, as just, so many of us like us, unfortunately, we suffer some loss of some close ones through the hands of gun violence. Sometime later, maybe about 10, 12 years later, my brother was murdered. And his name was Sherrod Bates. We both had nicknames. His nickname was Nardo. Solomon's name was Solomon Solo. A group of friends of mine, we decided to, bring those two names together, and that's how we got SoNard.
Wow.
Initially, it started off as a group of us, and we were going to band together and support the artistic endeavors of some others that were close to us. Our early treks of trying to get into that involvement didn't work so much. Mainly because we just didn't have the education for keeping that type of infrastructure together.
Right. Yeah.
It was more emotion based and not much technique and all the other fundamentals that go into building something successful, especially when a group is concerned. Me personally, I took a deeper emotional deposit into the name and into the reasoning behind it. And I like to draw. I've never really been taught artistically, how to express myself as an artist. Yet when my brother was murdered, it was recognized that we didn't have a lot of photographic memories of him. Due to the means of which he was murdered by. I was angry. I was filled with rage. I had intents of revenge, and at that time I was a father of two children. that being my older brother, and we spend so much time together, you know, he will always guide me, you know, with his wisdom. You know, I, quote unquote, jumped off the porch before he did, you know, and he would always speak to me about how I made my moves and, you know, being smart about them, you know. So at that very moment, you know, I decided to take heed to his counsel, even though he wasn't here with me physically. And I decided to take that emotion, you know, and gear it towards helping other families and other loved ones, you know, secure photographic memories of their own. And that was over 13 years ago. And as far as my goals moving forward, is still on par with that. You know, being more, having the brand ingratiated into more homes, into more hearts, into more families, into more memories, you know, so that they can have those quality moments to forever cherish. I'm at the stage now where I have a comprehensive idea. I have more of an understanding about business, my skill, my mastery, leadership. You know, I'm looking to build the brand and house employees, you know, and continue to build this legacy in the name of photographs.
I listening to, you know, this is, you know, obviously not in person, but it's the first time we meeting. Sometimes I you know, I've run into people as I've been doing this, and I kind of feel like it's weird how, like, you know, some people's lives are kind of, you know, almost similar in how, you know, you value things. You know what I mean? So, you know, listening to you, you know, and then how the, you know, somebody's life can kind of, you know, come in to full circle. It's, you know, you didn't have an understanding when you were in South Korea. You know what I mean? And, you know, you were forced into a situation where you had to adapt. You know what I mean? And then, you know, when you come back home, and then, you know, this happened with your brother, and now it's like you're forced again to adapt. And then, like you said, you know, it's you having two children of your own and all the different emotions that you got to deal with. You know what I mean? And it's and a lot of people don't understand those mental hurdles people can go through every single day. You know what I mean? And this, you know, even though, you know, we got to get up and we got to go through the same, you know, things we got to do. We got to go to work. You see these kind of different people, you know what I mean? And for you to take those things and then have the, you know, the guidance, like you said, from your brother, from, you know, conversations that you guys had before, and you turning it into a business of where you can, you know, that gives you peace, and that gives you rest, where it can relax you and allow other people to have some joy. You know what I mean? That's I don't think people realize how powerful photography can be. You know what I mean? We kind of tend to take it for granted. It's like, oh, I'm gonna call a photographer to get these pictures and this and this. But like you being a photographer, so much more than just a picture, because what you're doing is capturing a story for somebody.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? And what's the first photo shoot that you can remember?
It was actually my daughter.
Wow.
You know, when I made this decision, I was working for the utility company out here in New York City. My dad, he retired from Con Edison. So when it was time for me to, you know, make my employment endeavors, you know, that door was wide open for me, you know, and I was probably 4 or 5 years in when I decided to resign and start on this track, you know, of photography. It was very, very risky, you know. I believed in myself nonetheless. But yeah, my daughter, you know, just having some, what would you say, not having as much confidence, you know, early on, knowing that I'm just picking up this thing for myself and just going straight off the faith that I have in myself.
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of short of embarrassment of actually exploring that with other people because of the judgments. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so my daughter was ready, willing, and available, you know, for me to test my craft and practice my craft, you know, with her as being my subject,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and as young as 3 years old, you know, and that's where it, you know, basically started. And you know, through Instagram, I met a young lady. I have to give her a shout out. You know, Jennifer Daverin. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we both had a love for photography, and we would just go around the city and just learn the camera just by just shooting certain things. You know, and kind of, you know, pushed me to become better. You know, especially on the technical side of things, which a lot of people erase from photography and
Yeah.
videography because, as you say, the simplicity of the phone now, most people think click and shoot, you know, but there's a lot of technical aspects that go into, as you know, that go
Yeah.
into, you know, taking a photograph with, you know, some of the industry standard equipment.
Yeah. I remember a friend of mine, he's a down here in Delaware, he's a big photographer down here, Andre Wright. But I went on a couple of photo shoots when he was like, you could just sit, you can just, you know, he's obviously doing, all the work, but he's like, if you over here, just get some shots of something. And as, time was going on, I'm like, this ain't just snapping no picture, man. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not snapping no picture. First of all, that's what people see. I'm gonna show up, you're gonna take the pictures, bringing the equipment in, got to get the right lighting. Somebody might say, I want to have a photo shoot over here, just say in a barn. You know what kind of lighting, the kind of stuff we got to do, and these different angles. And you want to sit here on this chair, but it might be dark over here on the right side. This picture about to be ugly. I really can't say that to you. You know what I mean? But it's like you got to try to. It's so much, and it's tedious. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you really have to have an extreme love for it. You know what I mean? For again, a wedding. That might be. You've done weddings before?
Yes, I have done maybe over a dozen, you know.
That's a lot of, and that's all day.
Yes, indeed.
That's a, you know what
And
I'm
I
saying?
and as you said, pardon the cut your wisdom, but going from, you say, pre-wedding, which is a whole different set of lighting with the makeup and stuff, and then you go into a ceremony, and then that the whole different set of lighting, and then that moves so very quickly. The ceremony is probably maybe 10-15 minutes if
Yeah.
that. And then you move on into you have to have the group photos, and that's just a whole different type of lighting, and then you go into the reception, to
and
make
you
sure
you carrying all equipment the entire time, and you got to try to gather 10, 15, 20 people, and it's like, listen, everybody talking, everybody excited. We got to get these pictures taken because I am on a time limit. You know what I mean? And you got to try to do it in the most
efficient way possible.
Ooh, man, I'm gonna tell you, I always got respect for everybody, but when you actually get to witness that kind of stuff, that's a total different kind of respect, man. That's a lot of work. And another thing, we ain't really going to get into this. We're not going to get into this part of it, but I'm gonna just mention a little something. People, when these going rates. When you see the work behind this stuff, it's like, yo, I'm giving you a discount, yo. You know what I mean?
Most of the time.
Yeah, it's like I'm giving you. This is a lot of work, man.
Unfortunately, I try to be as impeccable as with my word as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from negative speech, negative connotation, whether it's to myself or to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, in the face of some of these hurdles, when we make a separation within culture, there's other cultures that respect the value of certain crafts. Where I don't know if it's inherently or whether they have the information through education or experience, and they say, well, sure, sir, I will give you $1,000 for this headshot. Where on the reverse side of it, the ones that are more comfortable to you and I may say, how about I give you $50?
Yeah.
And you give this back to me in 50 minutes so I can post it and get likes.
Yeah, it is. No, it is. And it's see, but that's all that stuff, that comes with wisdom. And it's, the Bible talks about, slow to speak, that kind of stuff, and but that, when you know all of that stuff and you learn, it's like, again, there's a bigger picture outside of this that I'm doing this to help you. You know what I mean? So on this side, this is what's happening, and you can't you can't ask me to do something, and then when I give you what it's gonna be, you can't say, nah, that's too much. Nah, we're not doing that.
But let me add this before we move on, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
a lot of it is the lack of information and history. When we go back and you think about photographs, even within our culture, there have been great portrait photographers, have carried on our history
Yeah.
for forever, and with that being said, when we talk about the comparisons of cultures, it sometimes pains me, yet it motivates me to be creative and innovative and effective into having the understandings of certain individuals that these photographs are treasure,
Yeah. Yep.
And that's, I think we get somewhat away from that. I won't get off too far, but I also do school. Our company does school photography as well, through school pictures and stuff. As you and I both know, that used to be a staple in our coach's household.
Good wait, man. Yeah.
But because of the cell phone, it kind of diminished the need for it has kind of diminished a little bit. Again, it challenges me, to quite plainly be more creative, to where there's a separation between your cell phone and what I can do. And yet that also creates a separation of currency, because I want to be able to give to all, service all, and yet I'm also wise enough to understand that some that I'm willing to service don't value the service. And it kind of detracts me from giving the best value to those that do value the service.
Yeah. Now, when I was kind of talking about that, when I was, reading your bio, your talent, and I think that it's amazing too, because again, like we talked about before, you're pretty much self-taught. You know what I mean? You understand this was something that, like you said, you realized the photographs that you didn't have of your brother. You know what I mean? So, now that you fell in love with the photography and you taught yourself, you know what I mean, certain things. And that's afforded you the opportunity to work with, a few celebrities, Little Kim, Papoose, Remy Ma, Lil C. These are all people that we grew up on. You know what I mean? I'm be 39 this year. So, Havoc from Mobb Deep, was it Cisco too?
Yes.
You see, how has, doing that, how has that, what has that done for you? Obviously for your confidence, but, for your business and your vision moving forward.
First, for my confidence, is confirmation. It's confirmation that, again, going back to the early portions of the conversations, that goals are obtainable, and that the what we reap is what we sow, and I have a connection between man and nature that I align with, and tree takes a pretty long time to grow. Like there's time, there's maintenance into getting the fruit, and again, getting to that point is just it's furtherance of confidence and keep on going. Like continue to keep pushing on. As far as the brand, I try not to use most of those placements as gimmicks, as you would say.
Mm-hmm.
I am also in the processes of I'm real meticulous with my movements,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, and
but that's why it works.
and how that is received. I mean, because oversaturation, it becomes, the receiver becomes dull to that. So I'm also always in the processes of proper placements of these so-called achievements. Truthfully, I get a whole lot more joy and satisfaction when I walk into the home of my client and I see a SoNardFlix photography on the wall. That does more for me than the celebrities, truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
I really would like for that to merge where I'm in the homes of them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know, again, I'm a big, I subscribe heavily to proof of concept. So I'm always working on, what the next client or the next 100 clients, how can I gain their confidence in what I've already done? So, yeah.
Yeah, among, all the work that you've done, you know what I mean, as a photographer, what would you say your favorite is and why? Kind of going back to what you said, it's you love when you walk into a client's home and you see, your picture up there. So what would you say is one of your favorites that you've done?
Oh,
I know I caught you off guard, right?
yeah, you did. I mean, I got over 1 million photos,
Ooh.
and counting.
Ooh-wee.
Lately I don't even know if I want to say this out loud because my technique may be jacked a little bit. So I'll save that one. To be honest, this is new and fresh, and it's not really. It's in line with photography, yet videography as well. Being from the culture and some of the adversities that we're faced with. Had a young man that I knew from my community. He was an artist. He was a rap artist, and since I had the camera in my hand and we had such limited resources, he wanted to do music videos, and that was the only reason why I got into music videos, to be of assistance to him. This was probably 10 years ago, and I remember some of our earlier works where he had a child. And during those times, I have video footage of him with his child, early on. Unfortunately, about 7 years ago, he was indicted, on a federal case, and he was incarcerated. He's still incarcerated now. He has about he was sentenced to 15 years. Ooh. But nonetheless, outside of photography, and I don't want to sway too far off, I also started a basketball academy, where I teach kids within, the underserviced community that I'm more familiar with, some of the developmental techniques to the sport, so that they could be more, outside of the flash and this and the third, how you sustain your foundation moving forward. A couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to counsel his son in my camp. And that was about 2-3 years ago. And then last night I just came from a game he had. He had a game in a public school Western Conference Finals. And to see this young man's development and to see that he has, an immense amount of promise ahead of him. And I attempted to give service or be an assistance to his dad, and at that time, it was 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and it was a little difficult for him to navigate. I know that there's no promises moving forward, yet being able to be in his son's life and have somewhat of a positive influence within not only basketball. Last night I provided some other media coverage for him. Highlight reels are a thing now. Everybody needs highlight reels,
Yeah.
that social media presence. So to tie back to the photography and the videography right now in current moment is very, very proud moment for me.
And that's I think that's so powerful too. And I, for one, I commend you for doing that kind of stuff, because this generation needs a lot more men, to step up and help along the way, because, us, speak for me growing up, we didn't have, well, we had boys and girls clubs we can go to. There were a lot of different things that we could go through, that we could go to as kids. And I feel like this generation, a lot of that has been taken away. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's so they're forced to go out. Is when they go outside, there's nothing to do. You know what I mean? So what they're doing is sitting on the corner hanging out, or they're doing, you may see them at a basketball court, but a lot of them, man, it's a lot of
aimlessness.
Yeah, man. It's a whole lot. And it's like there's no, like you said, there's no guidance. You know what I mean? It's just, so I just, because it's, hearing you talk about, and it's a whole lot down here, down here in Delaware. It's been these past few years, man. And one of the things for me doing this is like, I kind of want to put myself into a position to kind of be like a big brother to some of them, because you look at them and it's like, this ain't where you want to go. This ain't, you know what I mean? And us being at the age now and stuff that we've been through, I'm a lot of stuff. Thank the Lord that we were doing stuff and it was a whole lot more dangerous than we thought it was. You know what I mean? But you looking at it now and it's like, if somebody could just tell you, don't go down this street because you right there about to be messed up the rest of your life.
Indeed. I don't want to, since you mentioned in Delaware, I don't want to do too much, shouting out or name dropping, but I made it to take a lot of pictures of these celebrities through a client of mine, which is a family member, DJ Boogie. But his son, who's actually now at Delaware State, Jaden, he's a running back. Yeah, when he was in 8th grade, man, his dad used to have me come out, man, record highlights of him. And I believe that helped, secure him for, high school possibilities and moving on to Delaware State. So those are things like that. Like bringing the youth along is really what help. I mean, is one of more of my proudest moments. Especially if I take pictures of individuals took a picture of them when they were 6 years old. I've been doing this for 13 years. Now I move on to their high school, grammar school, high school graduations. And those are some of my proud moments. I'm ingratiated in families for more than a few for over a decade.
Yeah. So what would you say, or I'm gonna ask you this, what do you with your company, do you planning on eventually expanding outside and, into different states and stuff like that too?
Yes. Actually, the foundation was built here in New York City, but I am physically relocated to Georgia. So I'm in Georgia now. I've been in Georgia for a year. I have, a couple of buddies throughout my travels. I'm looking to move some of my operations to Houston, Texas as well. Again, when my world travels more so through the Army, I've been able to make a lot of connections with a lot of people throughout the nation. So my thing, even if it's not brick and mortars in all these locations, I do definitely look to, continue to move around at different places. Not my first, but I did. I was in Puerto Rico last year, to do a location, Sweet 16. Have a couple of things. I call them paid-cations, because
we was just down there. Me and my wife and my kids were just down there last summer. That's nice down there, man.
Yeah, so I do look for right now, like again, getting more of an understanding, everything being self-taught. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
screaming for help from the mountaintops, like, and help, as the old saying goes, good help is very, very hard to find. Yet, when those instances come, I look myself in the mirror, I ask myself, how can I build better? How can I lead better? And how can I execute better? And I believe, once those things happen, the support that I need will be willing, ready, and able, and I'll continue to brand off, man, as I see, as I desire.
Yeah. So what have you, from young Sherrod to now, what have you learned about yourself, man, in your lifetime? What have you learned about yourself mentally and spiritually that you know, that you can carry and, into the rest of your life?
As you see, my logo is a heart. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
And that's really so more, my mantra overall, even though we live somewhat in, as we were perceived as a loveless society, my intention is to continue to lead with love. I haven't always been that way. I became victim of, if you hit me, I'll hit you back.
Yeah.
Even in the sense, I can remember myself as a child, and they give us the stories of, turn the other cheek. And when I was a child, I could not wrap my mind around that concept.
Yeah.
But now, as as you said, surviving some things that we may have not thought that was been that bad then, but I count my blessings every single day. I'm grateful for every moment that I have. So that is more so of my drive is to master my moments, lead with love and allow that seed to grow as far as it can, whether someone sees it or not. And that's the evolved Sherrod. The evolved Sherrod is I will share love, like unquestionably, yet I will not allow abuse to where it diminishes my love that I cannot continue to share it with others.
Now I heard you earlier say that you had a daughter. I'm a father with a daughter myself. Ain't it something when you something really changes in you when you have a daughter, don't it?
Definitely. I can remember vividly that I cried like a baby when she came out the womb. Like it was just instinctive. Like it was nothing that I thought about. It just came like whoop.
And it's I don't know that my daughter she'll be 13, and just it's weird. Like I can remember it like it was yesterday. It wasn't long ago when I was just in that operating room. You know what I mean? And it was like, all right, it's like you really don't think about it, but everything kind of runs through your mind. It's like, all right, I got a daughter. It's time to grow up now. You know what I'm saying? So it's because she's gonna be looking to you. You know what I mean? And to I'm gonna say this to you, for you to lay the path that you've laid, over what you said, about 12, 13 years you've been doing it.
Indeed.
For you to lay the path that you've made and created something for yourself when at the time you didn't know what you was going to do. You know what I mean? But like you said, it's just, I knew, you said the deepness that it resonated with you with, you know what I mean, with the name and everything. And it's, 13 years later, you built it to where, I'm sure this wasn't in your mind, but you built it from New York down to Atlanta, and you got plans to moving it further all around you. And now you taking your talents over to Puerto Rico too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I want to salute you, because it's hard work, especially when you're doing it and it's, nobody understands what's going on backstage. So, I want to salute you. It's much respect to you, because hey, ain't too many people gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, for you to do it and to be able to build it the way you've done, that's so much respect. And I like to see my people win, man. That's number one for me.
I thank you. And when you said backstage, I wanted to mention something. I'm pretty sure there's going to be plenty of creatives that watch the show, you know, that watch the podcast. You know, you say you have an extensive relationship with a lot of videographers, photographers, and such. One of the things that that I'm like, I really, really am a fan of are credits in production. And credits and productions have countless amounts of names, you know, and coming from my basketball background, with knowing that it takes a team for success, moving into the military and understanding the infrastructure and how that becomes successful. I was not infantry. I was of support services, along with other support services. You know, you have the mailman, you have the lunch lady, you have the people that do the laundry. I did logistics. You have people that go out there and they fight in the field. I say that to say that Sherrod Jermaine Bates, a SoNardFlix photography, you know, I can follow and I can lead if the purpose is rightful. And that I want to say that to wrap that up. I mean, I'm really willing and able, you know, to, you know, as long as the purpose and its righteousness, you know, attached to it. You know, I'm willing, if somebody needs a hand and we can collaborate, we can work together. So be it. It's not all about SoNardFlix, as you would say, because as you started off, this media is very, very, very important. So the dutifulness that I have on my hands, there's other creatives that have the power to put positive mediums out there that need support as well. You know, and that understand that, you know, there's multiple sacrifices taken in, and a lot of times we take losses for the greater good of just the deposits of our future. You know, and to have somebody align with you that understands that has no value. And I'm shouting out to all my creatives out there. You know, if you need a hand, I'm here, and I need help as well.
Yeah. So where can they reach you on social media?
At SoNardFlix Photography. SoNardFlix Photography. Website the same, www.sonardflixphotography.com. And that's pretty much it on the contact side, and on Facebook as well.
Okay.
You know, and that's a whole nother, you know, as we know, that's a whole nother engine as itself. You know, I need to delegate days just for social media.
I tell myself, man, social media, I'm like, I guess maybe it's because me and you are a little bit, we didn't grow up in this kind of era. So it's, you know, we know you kind of gotta, you know, this is kind of like the new networking thing. That's, you know, that's what you do, and that's what we use it for. But at the same time, sometimes I find myself, I'm like, I'm not supposed to be putting stuff up here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'll be putting stuff up here, but that's just not, you know, me. The way I do it, I just move. You know what I mean? And I'll put it on there when I can put it on it. But the social media, that's a whole nother engine, man.
Yeah, indeed.
So look, man, I appreciate you for jumping on my podcast, man. And yeah, we gotta stay connected, man.
Yeah, indeed, please, man. And again, to all my, you know, the ones that I'm welcome into mentorship. I mean, support groups. I mean, within, you know, the likes, you and I, and the ones that look like us, to share the same dreams and hopes and endeavors. I'm never short of more wisdom, more education, you know, and furtherance of, you know, my greater tomorrows. You know, while we're blessed to be here, you know.
Man. I appreciate you, man, for jumping on again, man. And we definitely gonna stay connected, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you reaching out to me and having me and hosting me. It was a pleasure to be here. Big salutations to you. I mean,
likewise.
More health and bigger blessings to you and your family.
You too, man. Likewise, man. I appreciate you. God bless, man.
You're on YouTube, baby.